Number 1.
A 7-year veteran of the Bardstown Police Department and a member of the K-9 unit, Jason Ellis was ambushed and brutally gunned down at around 2 to 3 a.m. on May 25, 2013. Mystery shrouds the shocking death of this much-loved police officer. Investigation discoveries still a mystery. Killer Among Us delves into this mysterious killing and the ensuing investigation that has left police baffled. If you are intrigued to know more about this peculiar case and whether the police found out who killed Jason Ellis, we have got you covered. Growing up, Jason was a promising baseball player. He was known to have played in his high school's and college's baseball teams and was eventually signed by the Cincinnati Reds, where he played in the minor league system between 2002 and 2004. At the time of his murder, Jason was married to his wife of 9 years and lived in Bardstown, Kentucky. The couple had 2 children, Hunter and Parker. After leaving baseball, Jason fulfilled his childhood dream of becoming a police officer. In 2006, he joined the Bardstown Police Force and served there till his death. Jason was a K-9 officer and the only one in Bardstown. He was also involved in coaching youth baseball. On May 25, 2013, after a late arrest and having put a prisoner in the Bardstown jail, Ellis called off his shift and headed home. At that time, he did not have his K-9 partner with him. He was also operating a pool car, which did not have a dash camera to record the incident. At about 2:30 a.m., he left the Bluegrass Highway on exit 34 and found the ramp blocked with tree limbs. He got down to investigate and started clearing the limbs manually when he was ambushed. He was shot at with a shotgun and he fell among the tree limbs on the ramp. Ellis evidently never had a chance to fight back as he was found with his service weapon still in its holster. Soon afterward, a woman and a distillery worker saw the patrol car and went to help the cop clear the branches. They found Ellis on the ground in a pool of blood and immediately dialed 911. One of Ellis's closest friends, Sergeant Michael Medley, was among the first to hear the distress call on his radio. He thought that the radio had picked up a signal from a neighboring town, but then realized that the location was nearby. He drove to the ramp and was one of the first responding officers to find Ellis's dead body. The autopsy revealed that Ellis was shot multiple times in his arm, side, neck, head, and other areas not protected by his ballistic vest. The weapon used in the slaying was a 12-gauge shotgun. Mystery surrounds the death of Jason Ellis as cops haven't been able to conclude the case. From the time of the murder, the police have interviewed numerous people of interest involved in the case, but none of the leads has ever resulted in an arrest. Investigators also initially received dozens of tips and interviewed people that Ellis had arrested, but were unable to generate any leads. As there was no dashcam footage and no witnesses, police didn't have a lot of clues to start their investigation with. Initially, the police believed that Ellis was murdered when he stopped to assist a motorist on his way home. Later, the police ascertained that the trajectory of the bullets placed the shooter on a hill above the exit. That was when the police started believing that Ellis stopped to move debris from the roadway and was ambushed. On May 29, 2013, Bardstown Police Chief Rick McCubbin put out a public statement saying, "We believe that he was the target. This was methodical, precise, planned and executed in a perfect fashion, unfortunately." The police also found that the debris Ellis removed consisted of tree limbs from a tree not indigenous to the area, which indicated that the debris was deliberately placed there. 6 months after the killing, the state police, desperate to find the killer, made a video asking the public to help them identify the perpetrators. 2 years after the murder, the state police released yet another video, this time with a direct plea from Ellis's wife, Amy. In the video, she said, "His family, our 2 sons, his wonderful friends, and I cannot heal without knowing who and why he was taken from us by this senseless murder." There were multiple monetary rewards as well for any information related to the killings. Jeff Ruby, the owner of multiple high-end restaurants, reportedly posted a $33,000 reward for information that would lead to the arrest and conviction of Officer Ellis's murderer. The FBI also offered a reward of $50,000 for the same information. Investigators received numerous tips after the monetary rewards were announced, but unfortunately, none of them led to a break in the case. Near the 4th anniversary of Ellis's death, Kentucky State Police announced that 2 retired troopers had been hired back to focus full-time on Ellis's death and a few other unsolved cases in Nelson County. An anonymous prison inmate also spoke with reporter Stephanie Bauer and retired homicide detective Dwayne Stanton. There, the inmate claimed that Ellis was shot because he was closing in on an investigation of a ring of storage sheds and business burglaries. The inmate said that the burglarized storage units contained high-end antiques and drugs. The inmate further claimed that at least 4 men were hired by an unidentified person to carry out Ellis's murder, and those people were later eliminated to tie up loose ends. These claims were never confirmed or substantiated. Even though the details surrounding the brutal slaying of Officer Ellis remain a mystery to this date, he lives on in the memories of his family and co-workers. While the crime has been a tough one to cope with for those who knew and loved him, many still hope for answers someday. Until then, they choose to honor Officer Ellis's life and legacy.
Number 2.
49-year-old Robert Hoagland was last seen in Newton, Connecticut on July 28, 2013. He disappeared that morning from his family home on Glen Road in the town's Sandy Hook section, a day before he was supposed to pick up his wife at the JFK airport. Robert Hoagland was born on June 9, 1963. Married for 25 years to his wife Lori, the couple raised their 3 sons in a home on Glen Road in the Sandy Hook section of Newton, Connecticut. Hoagland initially worked as a professional chef in a local restaurant, but later left for a position at a friend's law office in Bridgeport. He also worked as a self-employed real estate appraiser in his home office in order to be closer with his family. His wife, a culinary arts teacher, worked at Newtown High School. Their middle son, 24-year-old Max, had a history of problems with drug addiction and went into a rehabilitation center in 2013. He was living at the family house at the time of Hoagland's disappearance. In early July 2013, his wife went on a 17-day trip to Turkey with some friends, and the couple regularly exchanged emails during her vacation. In the week before her return, 2 of the family's laptop computers were stolen. Robert believed his son took them to be sold in exchange for drugs. On the evening of July 27, 2013, Hoagland called his wife to confirm his plan to pick her up 2 days later at John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York City. On the morning of July 28, 2013, Hoagland drove to the Bagel Delight shop to buy bagels for breakfast. Later that morning, a security camera at the Mobil gas station on Church Hill Road near Interstate 84 captured Hoagland in the store at 6:45 a.m. He was seen approaching the counter to pay for gas, and he also bought a map of the eastern United States with a credit card before driving back home. Upon returning home, Hoagland ate breakfast with his son Max before playing 3 Scrabble games online, texting some messages, and paying some bills. Between 10 o'clock and 11 a.m., Hoagland went outside to mow the lawn while his son drove off in his mother's red Volkswagen Golf, saying he would be back a few hours later. A neighbor witnessed the father and son talking on the lawn. His wife landed at JFK Airport at 4 p.m. on July 29, 2013, but Hoagland was nowhere to be seen. Text messages and calls to his cell phone and home went unanswered. After 2 hours of waiting, she left to visit a relative's home in Brooklyn, but grew concerned upon receiving a call from Hoagland's boss's wife saying he was absent at the law firm that day. Lori returned to their family home in Newton, but her husband and son were nowhere to be found. Hoagland's car, a Mini Cooper, was still parked in the driveway. Robert left behind his cell phone, keys, passport, and his blood pressure medication in his office. His dirty clothes were found in the laundry, and he took no personal belongings with him. The mower was returned to its usual storage location in the basement, and the loafers he had been wearing that morning to the convenience store were found in the living room. Upon examining Hoagland's work computer, investigators found he had repeatedly searched an address in Rhode Island. The address was later investigated, but brought up no leads. A further search into his personal computer was concluded, but a program downloaded onto the computer a month before he disappeared cleared out all internet searches. Investigators have found no indication that Hoagland has used any credit cards or a cell phone since he was last seen on July 28. They did discover a $600 cash withdrawal from one of the family's accounts on July 25, 2013, at the South Newtown branch of Union Savings Bank. On August 6, 2013, his wife discovered Hoagland's wallet and car's keys hidden in their bedroom under a doll on a chair 10 days after his disappearance. On the evening of July 28, 2013, patrol officers from Bridgeport arrested Hoagland's son Max for buying drugs in an area with no trespassing signs. He was charged with third-degree criminal trespassing and held on a $2,500 bond. Investigators later discovered that Hoagland went to the same abandoned industrial building in Bridgeport where his son Max was arrested a few days before his disappearance. The location in 136 Washington Terrace was known to the police for drug sales and prostitution. Hoagland reportedly confronted some men described as Max's associates over the theft of the family's computers. When interrogated, the men denied the theft of the laptops. Police found no evidence linking them to Hoagland's disappearance, nor evidence that his son Max's activities or associations had anything to do with his disappearance. In the aftermath of his disappearance, several alleged sightings of Hoagland were reported, but none yielded any positive results. In the aftermath of his disappearance, several alleged sightings of Hoagland were reported, but none yielded any positive results. In November 2013, witnesses saw a man matching Hoagland's description walking with a backpack near Warwick, Rhode Island. Police were unable to locate the man to determine his identity. In December 2013, someone reported seeing Hoagland driving a car with New York license plates in Brookfield, Connecticut. A witness claims to have seen Hoagland going into a county jail in Putnam County, New York in July 2014. After reviewing surveillance footage from the jail, police were unable to determine the man's identity. In November 2014, police received a tip that Hoagland might be working in a restaurant in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. This sighting has not been confirmed. Police found no evidence, means, or motive for foul play in Robert Hoagland's disappearance. While he had worries about issues related to his middle son and some private family matters, Hoagland was not the kind of man to simply walk away from his family and job responsibilities, according to his wife. The circumstances surrounding his disappearance are unclear, and his case is currently classified as a missing person. His case remains unsolved. Caucasian male. Short brown hair, mostly bald with closely cropped hair on sides, and blue eyes. He is 6'2" tall and weighs 175 pounds. He was called Hoagie by his family. Hoagland was last seen wearing khaki shorts and a white t-shirt. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Robert Hoagland, please contact the Newtown Police Department 203-270-4229 or 203-426-5841.
Number 3.
More than a year has passed since Michael Bryson went missing in the Umpqua National Forest, but his parents, Tina and Parrish Bryson, are no less determined to find him. They described the past 14 months as an emotional roller coaster, with highs when they get new information and lows when the tips fizzle out. There are days where we are on top of the world because things are going really well, and then all of a sudden you plummet down to the bottom, Parrish Bryson, Michael's father, said while sitting at a table in his home near Junction City. Michael Bryson was 27 when he went missing August 5, 2020, during a party at Hobo Campground, which his parents described as a rave. He was last seen by his parents on August 3, 2020, when he stopped by their house before riding up with a friend for a week-long birthday party and camping trip at the campground, according to Parrish Bryson. Michael Bryson wandered away from the campsite at around 4:30 a.m., Lane County Sheriff's Office reported at the time. The sheriff's office still has a detective assigned full-time to the case and has been working it on a near-daily basis, but there hasn't been any major progress, Sergeant Thomas Speldrich said. At this point, it's still pretty static, there's not a whole lot of new developments, Speldrich said. Any leads as they come in have been worked. Unfortunately, none of them have provided the information that we need to locate him. Bryson left his camping gear at the campground, and his phone had been powered off for several days, the sheriff's office said the week he went missing. Asked if investigators think there was foul play involved, Speldrich said they aren't ruling it out. "We're certainly open to the possibility that there was criminal action, and we haven't had anything that has led us one way or the other at this point," he said. In December 2020, following up on a tip, the sheriff's office found multiple items of clothing in the woods Bryson was last seen wearing, according to Parish Bryson. He was skeptical about the tip and said he thinks the items were planted by someone. At least 3 times per week, Parish said he is out following tips from community members, which sometimes means driving into the woods in the middle of the night, only to find animal bones, a deer carcass or an area he already investigated. "I can't tell you how many times I've gone and checked out bones," he said, later noting he's focused much of his time on finding his son. Other times those trips can be more helpful, like when he finds people near the area who can tell him something new. While Parish is out chasing leads, Tina Bryson said she is usually on edge waiting at home. "It's like, is there a body this time? Every time," she said. People who were at the party said after the incident that Michael got upset and left the bus, where he was with other partiers. Bryson's parents are convinced someone murdered their son, though police have found no evidence of it so far. Tina Bryson also told the register guard she doesn't believe he walked away. "That's just not Michael, he barely ever got upset," his mother said. "There's nothing in me that says Michael would have just wandered nonchalantly out of that campground." The sheriff's office declined to comment when asked for details about the party, such as whether drugs were present and how many people were there. "We don't have anything we are wanting to release at this time," Speldrich said. One source of support and motivation that has uplifted Bryson's family is the Facebook page Let's Find Michael Bryson, which has gained more than 21,000 members. Of those, thousands have helped by printing out search flyers to post all around Oregon and the world. People offer words of support for finding Bryson on the site, reach out with tips they might have learned, and offer stories of how Bryson positively impacted their lives. In one post, a woman said she was at a party contemplating suicide before talking to Michael made her change her mind. The group also became a site to support others around the U.S. dealing with missing friends or family and has regularly posted notices alerting others to keep an eye out for individuals. The couple also are setting up a nonprofit called the Michael Bryson Foundation, aimed at helping families solve missing person cases and to help advocate for those with mental illness. Krista Bryson, Michael's sister, who is a clinical mental health and family therapist, has helped by compiling a list of resources for people dealing with mental health or substance abuse issues. The attention also has led to multiple podcasts focused on analyzing what happened to Bryson, which Parish said are hit and miss in terms of accuracy. Close friend Anna Brandt, who met Michael Bryson at the Paradiso Music Festival in 2015, said she viewed him like a brother. Similarly to his parents, Brandt described Bryson as a very friendly person and someone who didn't know a stranger. "He was a really good guy," said Brandt, a 26-year-old who used to live in Eugene but is now in Las Vegas. "He would give the shirt off his back to a stranger, and he had the most infectious smile and laugh that would light up any room he walked into." The last time Brandt saw Bryson was the weekend before he went missing, when she went camping with him and her boyfriend. Brandt talked about how Bryson loved music. He was into electronic dance music. He was planning to DJ at the party where he went missing, according to his parents. "He was vulnerable, but in the best way," Brandt said. "He opened up to people in a way that made them comfortable to be their true selves around him." Bryson dealt with some drug addiction issues when he started college, his father said, but was doing well recently before going missing, and he was interested in taking classes to become an electrician. "He was really starting to push more on the right foot," Parish Bryson said, describing him as someone who made everyone laugh and feel good. Tina Bryson requested that anyone who was in the area of Hobo Campground around August 3 to 5 to reach out to them or the sheriff's office at 541-682-4150, option 1, and reference case number 20 to 5286. Bryson is described as 6 feet 2 inches tall and about 180 pounds, with short brown hair and hazel eyes. He was last seen wearing rainbow Crocs, black athletic shorts, and possibly wearing a brown corduroy baseball cap, the sheriff's office said.
Number 4.
28-year-old James Liedtka was last seen in Eau Claire, Wisconsin on November 4, 2018. He was captured on surveillance video at 1:13 a.m., walking behind the Pickle Tavern on Water Street. He hasn't been seen or heard from since. On Saturday, November 3, 2018, James and several friends were out on Water Street in Eau Claire during the evening hours. They visited Shenanigans and then the Pioneer Bear to celebrate a friend's birthday. James ended up getting separated from his friends later that evening, but did make phone contact with one of them at approximately 12:25 a.m. on Sunday morning. He was last seen on surveillance video at 1:13 a.m. on November 4, walking eastbound on Water Street in the 300 to 400 block behind the Pickle Tavern, heading towards the bike trail. James never made it home and hasn't been seen or heard from since. He was reported missing on the afternoon of Monday, November 5. Liedtka was going to school at Stout for engineering while living with his sister and a roommate. Investigators say his vehicle hasn't been moved since his disappearance, and it doesn't appear that he ever made it home. According to Liedtka's telephone records, his last activity was on November 4, 2018 at 8:25 p.m. This activity could be an incoming call or text message. The GPS coordinates led the police to the 1100 block of Menomonee Street near the Chippewa River. His cousin Liz Norder said they've hit a lot of dead ends, but they haven't lost hope. His family continues to do private searches every week, scoping the Chippewa River and looking for clothing items. Naturally, we want to hope for the fact that James is alive and he just needed a break. However, sometimes we do get the feeling that maybe he's not, and we would like to at least have him found so that he can get a proper goodbye from all of us, Norder said. Not knowing what happened to him has really torn each of us apart, and we just feel very lost. His family has also done a few podcasts with the Vanished Big Mad True Crime and an episode of The Missing to spread the word about his case. Norder describes her cousin as someone who is smart, a smart-aleck, mischievous, and loves his family. She also said, if James is watching or reading this, to please let his family know he's safe, especially his mom and dad. Eau Claire police say there have not been any new leads to investigate in the case, and they welcome any new information people could provide. Liedtka's family also has a Bring James Home Facebook page, where they post about his disappearance as well as other missing people. Police and fire officials conducted a routine search of the Chippewa River for clues into his disappearance, but came up empty. His case remains unsolved. James Liedtka is an Asian male born on September 6, 1990. He is 5'73" tall, weighs 170 pounds, and has black hair and brown eyes. He had short facial hair at the time he went missing. He was last seen wearing a baseball cap, a red t-shirt, and light-colored blue jeans with ripped knees. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of James Liedtka, please contact the Eau Claire Police Department at 715-839-4972.
Number 5.
37-year-old Tammy Kingery was last seen in North Augusta, South Carolina on September 20, 2014. She disappeared after walking away from her Mealing Roads house, where she lived with her husband and 3 children. Tammy supposedly left for a walk, but never returned home and hasn't been seen or heard from since. Tamara Sue Kingery was born on April 13, 1977 in Northwest Indiana to parents Carolyn and Philip Russell. Tammy finished a nursing degree in 2001 and worked as a nurse in a local branch of the NHC Healthcare nursing home. She married Park Kingery on September 20, 1994, and the couple had 3 children together. The family moved to South Carolina and lived in a house they built in a wooded area of Edgefield County, North Augusta. On September 20, 2014, Tammy left home early and headed to the NHC Healthcare nursing home, where she worked as a nurse for her shift that started at 7 a.m. Her coworker recalled that Tammy seemed oddly agitated that day and that she had checked her blood pressure 4 times while at work. She called her husband not too long after, who came and picked her up and took her back to the family home located on Mealing Road. Her husband left the house at 10 a.m. with 2 of their 3 children to run some errands, while Tammy took a nap to rest. Upon returning home she was nowhere to be seen, and her husband found a note saying "Went for a walk, be back soon. Love you." Concerned when she didn't return home, Tammy's husband took a ride over to her workplace but found no signs of her. He reported her missing to the Edgefield County Sheriff's Office at 2 p.m. Tammy left behind her cellular phone, purse, identification, keys and wallet in the house and has never been heard from again. An extensive search around the family home was conducted over the weekend by the Edgefield County Sheriff's Office with the help of volunteers, rescue teams, search dogs and helicopters, but no sign of Tammy was found. Investigators found it odd that the house was locked when her husband returned. Tammy's key was left behind in her purse inside the house, but the house's main door could only be locked from the outside. At the time, Tammy was said to be suffering from depression, which she was taking medication for. Her husband reported she had tried to commit suicide by taking medication while consuming alcohol as recently as a week before her disappearance. The handwritten note was confirmed to be hers by the State Law Enforcement Division. Upon looking into her phone records, investigators managed to retrieve 2 sets of previously deleted text messages described as romantic in nature. The 2 men were investigated and are not considered persons of interest in Tammy's disappearance. Police found no evidence, means or motive for foul play in Tammy's disappearance. A $4,000 reward was initially offered by her husband for information leading to Tammy's safe return home, but the reward no longer exists and he filed for bankruptcy a year after. The circumstances of Tamara Sue Kingery's disappearance remain unclear, and her case is currently classified as endangered missing. Her case remains unsolved. Tammy Kingery is described as a Caucasian female with blonde hair and hazel eyes. She is 5'4" tall and weighs 125 pounds. Tammy has a scar on her left wrist and scars on both sides of her upper chest. Her ears are pierced. She was last seen wearing a light-colored shirt and dark pants. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Tamara Sue Kingery, please contact the Edgefield County Sheriff's Office, 803-637-5337 or 803-278-1625.
Number 6.
29-year-old Tyler Davis went missing from Columbus, Ohio on February 24, 2019. He was last seen around 3 a.m. near the Hilton at Easton Town Center in Columbus. On February 23, 2019, Tyler and his wife Brittany traveled to Columbus, Ohio to celebrate her birthday. After dropping off their 20-month-old son at his parents' house, they drove to Columbus from their home in Wilmington, Ohio, about a 90-minute trip. They checked into the Hilton Hotel in front of the Easton Town Center around 5 p.m. and met up with a friend who lived nearby, Sean Hughes. Around 8:30 p.m., the 3 of them left the hotel to walk around the shopping center, visiting some bars and clubs. Around 3 a.m. they took an Uber back to the hotel. On the way back, Tyler fell asleep in the car, and when they arrived back at the hotel he was confused and frustrated, according to Brittany, and said he was going to go for a walk. Brittany went back into the hotel to charge her phone, while Sean left with Tyler on foot. After a half hour, Brittany came back outside, but couldn't find either of them. She called Tyler's cell phone, and he called her back around 3:30 a.m., saying he would be right back. A few minutes later, Sean came walking back to the hotel, but Tyler wasn't with him. At this point, Brittany tried calling Tyler again, but he wouldn't answer. At approximately 4:10 a.m. Tyler called her back, telling her, "I see the hotel. I'm walking through the woods. I'll be right there." He hung up and called back immediately, but when Brittany answered she only heard 4 seconds of silence before the phone went dead. She called him back, but his phone was off and has been shut off ever since. At 4:30 a.m. their friend Sean, who lived about 10 minutes away from the hotel, decided to go home. Brittany went inside the hotel and started calling friends, asking for advice on what to do. Tyler never came back to the hotel and hasn't been seen or heard from since. At 9:30 a.m. Brittany called Tyler's parents to let them know he hadn't come back. At 10:30 a.m. she reported Tyler missing to the Columbus Police Department. Authorities, as well as several search and rescue organizations, have conducted multiple searches of the area but haven't found any evidence. Tyler's phone indicates he was walking around Abbott Labs at 3:53 a.m. near the intersection of Stelzer Road and Morse Crossing. This is his last known location. Authorities don't believe Tyler went missing intentionally. They released audio from his phone showing that he was asking for directions to the hotel and intended to go back. His case remains unsolved. Tyler Davis is a Caucasian male born on June 30, 1989. He has brown hair, brown eyes, stands 5'9" tall, and weighs 170 pounds. He has a red birthmark on his right arm that goes up to his neck. Tyler was last seen wearing a blue and green flannel, a white t-shirt, blue jeans and Nike shoes. Tyler Davis's family does not believe he left on his own accord, nor do the investigators, as he was trying to make his way back to the hotel when he disappeared. Despite multiple searches of the area, no clues as to his whereabouts have been found. His case remains unsolved. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Tyler Davis, please contact the Columbus Police Department at 614-645-235 or Central Ohio Crime Stoppers at 614-461 tips.